A film by Frank Darabont, The Shawshank Redemption, 1947. A Maine court hears a case in which a bank vice president, Andy Dufresne, is charged with the murder of his wife and her lover. However, the hero does not admit his guilt, and also the character does not remember what he was doing on the night of the murder because he was drunk. Shortly before the murder, Dufresne scandalously caught his wife in an affair with another man, but refused her request for a divorce. The wife left the house that evening. Dufresne went to a bar, where he drank a lot, and then drove to the house where his wife was supposed to be. But there was no one. The man decided to wait for his wife and her lover with a revolver. After some time, Dufresne sobered up and went home. In the morning, the housemaid found his wife and lover shot dead. The police did not find the gun that Dufresne threw into the river on his way home. Other evidences also point to the defendant's guilt. Dufresne is sentenced by the court to 2 life sentences. He is sent to Shawshank, one of the darkest prisons in New England, where cruelty and lawlessness are rampant. The warden, Samuel Norton, demonstrates northward religiosity, and the head of the guard, Captain Hadley, beats one of the new prisoners to death on the first night after his arrival. Dufresne becomes a prison laundry worker. 2 months after arriving at the prison, Andy meets another inmate, an African-American man named Ellis Boyd Red Redding, who has friends in high places and organizes the delivery of various goods to the prison through illegal channels. Dufresne orders a stone hammer from him, explaining his request by the man's love of stonework. Dufresne also becomes the object of sexual harassment by inmates of a group known as the Sisters. They repeatedly harass Andy, beating him for disobedience, but he tries to resist them to the end, with variable success. In 1949, thanks to Red's connection, Dufresne is assigned to a group that repairs the roof of a prison factory. During the repairs, Andy, a highly professional lawyer, unwittingly gives Hadley advice on how to avoid paying the inheritance tax. In return, after another attack by the Sisters on Andy, Hadley beats up the Sisters' leader, Boggs Diamond, in gratitude. He becomes disabled, after which the Sisters leave Dufresne alone. Gradually, Dufresne begins a new life. The character becomes a library worker, helping an elderly prisoner, Brooks Hatlin. At his work, Dufresne gives financial and legal advice to the prison guard, helping them fill out tax returns. Gradually, the warden Samuel Norton inveigles Andy into his financial fraud. Dufresne draws up a set of documents and creates a fake identity named Randall Stevens, who never really existed, crediting Norton's laundered money to accounts opened in that name. At the same time, the hero showers letters on the state senate, and within 6 years, he gets money and books to expand the prison library. In another 4 years, the library received annual funding and became a model library. The warden profited from the occasion and told the media about the shipshape order in prison. Norton also developed the Inside and Outside program, which engaged prisoners to work outside the jail walls. Every newspaper paragraphed about this prison education program. Meanwhile, Old Brooks is released on parole, which he's not happy about after 50 years in jail. The man has stopped perceiving himself outside the walls and has become a prison man. Brooks settled in a small hotel room and started working in a store as a packer, but every day it became harder for him. One day, unable to stand it, he committed suicide by hanging himself in the room, having previously carved the inscription "Brooks was here" on the ceiling. The inmates who knew Brooks learned about this from his suicide letter. Andy dedicates the prison library to Brooks. For 19 years, Norton, with the help of Andy and using the practically free power of prisoners, has been doing a lot of dark deeds with the help of the program he developed, depositing huge amounts of money into his bank accounts, while showing the media how well the educational process in prison is going. At the same time, Dufresne helps other inmates get an education. He personally conducts classes with a young thief, Tommy Williams, teaches him to read, and prepares the guy for the GED tests. Williams successfully passes the exam. After learning about Andy's story, Tommy recalls that when he was serving a 3-year sentence in another prison, his former cellmate, the psychopath Elmo Blatch, told him how he killed a golf club owner and his mistress, and her banker husband was imprisoned for the murder. Andy realizes this murder is the same one for which he was convicted. The hero tries to persuade Norton to help him review his case, but receives a firm refusal as Andy is involved in Norton's machinations and is beneficial to him as a free personal financier. The warden sends Andy to solitary confinement for an extremely long period. At the same time, Norton invites Tommy to a nighttime conversation outside the prison, during which Hadley shoots Tommy to death from the tower, supposedly on the run. Dufresne returns from solitary confinement and continues to work for Norton. One evening, in a conversation with Red, he says that he will open a hotel in the Pacific coast in Zihuatanejo, Mexico, after getting out of prison. Andy asks Red to remember the name and tells him about the town of Buxton. A very meaningful place for him is situated near that town. Dufresne tells Red how to find it. Red tells his friends about the conversation with Andy. One of them recalls that Dufresne had recently come to him and asked for a rope. The friends worry that Andy has gone insane after a long stay in solitary confinement and wants to commit suicide. In 1966, Andy escapes. During the years of his imprisonment, he used a geological hammer ordered from Red to break a tunnel in the cell wall, covering it with a poster of an actress. Every day during his walk, he would take pieces of the wall out into the yard and hide them in his clothes. At night, Andy crawled through a tunnel into the room where the sewer pipes of the entire apartment block converged. Taking advantage of the thunderstorm noise, the man quietly broke through a collector pipe with a stone and crawled out of the prison. In the morning, wearing a suit and boots stolen from Norton, he visited several banks where he had transferred Norton's money. The hero closed the accounts opened in the name of Mr. Stevens he had created, receiving $370,000, and sent a letter to the newspaper's editorial office with information about corruption in Shawshank prison. As a result, Hadley was arrested, and Norton, unwilling to surrender to the police, committed suicide by shooting himself in his office. Soon Red, who received a blank postcard with the postmark of Fort Hancock, which is located on the border with Mexico, realizes where Andy crossed the Mexican border and where he was headed. After another parole board, Red is released. He moves into the same room where the late Brooks lived and works as a packer in the same store for a while. But then the man decides to find the stash that Andy told him about in prison. In the stash, he finds money and a letter from Andy inviting him to travel to Mexico. Red violates his parole and crosses the US-Mexico border. He's confident that no one will organize a chase for an old criminal whom no one considers dangerous. Being on the ocean shore, Alice Redding sees Andy Dufresne. After passing all the tests, the heroes became absolutely free from their sins and the past. Justice is served.